Welcome to week one of the Bushwick Media Coaches Show. Stephen Lyles here with, we're going to open up with Coach Reynolds. It's going to look a little different this year. You know, we're used to Friday mornings, kind of pregame. And, I've had a couple people say, man, that got me ready for football on Friday. But this year we have a great new sponsor here with Mitch's Barbecue and wanted to host. And the cool thing about after Coach Reynolds today, we'll have a couple players on. You're going to get to talk with DJ and our local legend player of the game, Jackson Fetch. And but before we get into those guys, what'd you think of Friday night, Coach?
It was awesome. It was awesome. It was really exciting. I mean, we've talked about it with the coaching staff and the kids several times, and it's, I've coached probably close to 60 games in this stadium through the years, and that was probably the most exciting, without a doubt, the most exciting atmosphere that I've ever coached in. And it was just wonderful all the way from the fans, the student section, the cheerleaders, the band. Their West Plains side was amazing. They filled their side over there, and just seeing people wrapped all the way around the track, on the track, in those, little bleachers back there. It was nuts. It was nuts. It really was. And I knew it was going to be big, but I don't think I really thought it was going to be quite that big. But it was a blast. Obviously, when you can walk away from a game like that with the win, that just adds to it. But just great atmosphere, and we had a blast.
I think the attendance number that I got was over three, because obviously it's hard to gauge with bands and cheerleaders and all the workers that come in, but it was over 3,000 people in that stadium. In all your time, I don't remember a time we've had that many. Do you?
No, and I think it may have been even more. I thought I heard where we sold around 3,100 tickets, and then that doesn't count, the ones that have district passes that got in, and your band and your cheerleaders and stuff like that. That was just tickets sold. So regardless of what the number was, I mean, it was just a great night for Texas high school football and for Bushland in general, I think.
So let's talk about that game just a little bit. Obviously, you like to start on defense, and defense kind of has always set the tone. How big was it, first play offensive play of the game, to get DJ to Tanner for the touchdown?
Yeah, it's funny because I was always, when Coach Thomas was here, I was like, take the ball first, get the ball, and I don't mind doing that at all. But I think sometimes it depends on the wind factor, and if I feel like, the wind's high enough to, where you can kick off and make them drive into it and hopefully make them punt into it and get good field position, that starts with good momentum. So, yeah, I mean, it was we got a pretty good start with the defense, and they drove it a little bit, moved the chains a couple of times, and then we got the fourth down stop with the tackle by Jackson Fetch. And then, that first play, just worked. Practiced it all week, and it worked. So
just the way you drew it up, didn't it?
It did. I mean, honestly, it did. And sometimes it happens like that. Sometimes it doesn't. We felt like they may be jumping our screens the first play of the game, and they did. And with Tanner's speed, if you mess up, slip up, he's going to be gone.
He is fast. Now, let me ask this, just because I know having had Coach Thomas in the booth and Jim Ned, and I think we've talked about it before, you're a scripter. You like those first 10, 15 plays. Yes. When the first play works that well, does it change the script at all, or is it like, okay, we're right where we want to be?
No, I mean, I think it sets you where you want to be. I mean, it depends on what you're looking for. Most of the time we're not looking for that touchdown first play. It's great if you get it, and it's happened, before in the past. But we're really looking to get that first down. We want to play fast, and if we can get that first down and move the chains, we feel like we can get our tempo set and get going. And that's the main thing we're looking most of the time. But we decided to dial something up a little different and kind of go for the throat first play.
Now, your defense came out and got a stop fast. Then I don't want to say we had some defensive struggles, but it felt like we didn't make the stops we would have liked to have made. How much of it was a feeling out process, just a new defense on first night of the season?
Yeah, I mean, part of it is we're running pretty much the same defense, but it's different too, different terminology and, different assignments a little bit for the kids. And just anytime you have a new DC, it's going to be called a little bit different. And, I thought, looking back at it, we did a lot of good things on defense, and sometimes when you just play that many plays, it was a strange night, a weird game. I know that you ever know for sure how a game is going to play out until it starts. And, that first quarter seemed like it was a full game, and I was sitting there thinking, golly, we're just now finished the first quarter. There was a lot of plays in that game. And the fact that I think when you get in one of those, when you get in kind of one of those games like that, you're looking for turnovers and you're looking for stops, and I think we got enough, obviously, to win. We went back and looked on the film Saturday, and there was some busted assignments on a few things that are easily fixable. If we fix those things, and I think we have a really good chance to have a great defense.
And it even felt like it was fixed from the first half to the second half.
Yeah.
You didn't see the same mistakes again,
Right.
but we did string together a few. How big was special teams on
It was
Friday night?
huge. Momentum. It was a game of momentum. The whole night was just, we started off 14-0, and then they came back and took the lead and did some good things. And we came back and tied it, and they took the lead at halftime by 3. And then, right at the beginning of the third quarter, it felt like the momentum was starting to shift to them again. And it got to 10 points, and then, we had a big play and then scored, ran a trick play. And then we kicked off, and they muffed the kickoff. We got the ball right back, scored the first play again. I think we scored two touchdowns in 10 plays. When you're down 10, and all of a sudden it's a brand new ball game. So the momentum changes were big, but that's what we have to learn to keep fighting through the highs and lows. And I thought we did a good job of that. Special teams, like you said, we weren't perfect on special teams, but I thought we were probably better, than they were, and I thought it was a big difference in the ball game.
Now, we've talked a lot. You graduated 21 seniors last year, which meant there was a lot of opportunity coming into this year for some young guys to get some playing time. Who kind of maybe not? I don't want to say surprised you, but maybe who played better, or maybe took some of the. Maybe it was surprise. Maybe surprise is the right word. Who kind of came in and maybe stepped into a role that you said, all right, that's what we want to see.
Yeah, I thought there was a lot of that, Friday. There was, to be honest with you, there's some guys that played that I really didn't know if they would play maybe at all, and there's some guys that played quite a bit that I thought might just play a little bit. And, a couple that stand out in my mind that did a really good job, Aiden Hall.
Absolutely.
Aiden Hall played a lot at corner. There was, like I said, there's a lot of plays running that game, and when you're skilled guys, usually your receivers are probably your defensive backs too a lot of times, and they're putting a ton of steps in, and they're on special teams, and they're returning punts and kicks. So we had to roll those guys, and Aiden just stepped in and did a great job for us, just did his job. Hayden Branscombe, 14, another one that, Hayden didn't get to play last year, and in fact, he switched defensive positions last week, and, I really didn't know if he would play at all, and he played quite a bit and did a really good job for us, on the line. We try to rotate Charlie in there on the offensive line a lot. Cannon Melvin stepped in and played a lot at offensive tackle, did a great job. So that's what you want, though. You try to sell guys on their role and how important it is. And, I thought that really, came to fruition Friday night. There was a lot of guys that had to play, and they did a great job.
Hayden's an awesome story because obviously he gets injured, sat out last year trying to get healthy so that he could play this year. Another one of those that similar, that a little more personal, the play of Colton Reynolds. We all know his journey from coming back from the knee injuries. How awesome as a coach first, but because that's what Friday night you are, but also from a dad, just to see young men like Hayden and Colton battle back and get out there and play a game they love. How awesome is that?
I don't think anytime you get the chance to see a kid, with perseverance, like with Hayden's deal and breaking his leg a couple of years ago, just great to see him out there making plays and being successful. Same thing with Colton. Obviously he's my son, and I didn't even know when he scored the touchdown, I didn't even know he was in the game. And, that was, I'm not going to lie, that was a special moment for me just because I know how hard he's worked. And, to see the smile on his face, that's what it was about, just seeing the smile on those guys' face when they get to do something like that, when they hadn't been able to do it in a while. It's just, real rewarding.
So obviously, great win on Friday night, but now we turn our eyes to this Friday and the Canadian Wildcats, who obviously they've had this game circled
Yeah.
probably since last year when they came here. Number 1 team in Division 2A versus number 7 team, according to Dave Campbell's in 3A Division 1. Going to be a lot of another hype. How do you begin? Is it harder in these coming off of a big emotional win to keep the guys set on Canadian? How do those weeks play back to back?
No, I think our kids understand. They know Canadian. They know how good that program is. So the respect is there. You know, we don't have to hype it up because it's that, like you said, the hype's going to be there, and then the respect for those guys from our staff and our kids to their staff and their kids is you know, at the top. And you know, I think we just have to be smart as coaches and, you know, we got to try to prepare for the game today, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and we got to win it Friday. You know, and that's how we have to look at it. You know, it's an emotional game for us against West Plains. Last thing you want to do is start going crazy and hyping the game, the Canadian game, too early in the week, and you get to Friday night and you don't have any emotion left. You know, we got to build, you know, to a crescendo. Coach Mayfield used to talk about that a lot. We got to build up to Friday at 7 o'clock, turn it loose. And like I said, the respect factor is there for those guys. I mean, they've earned every bit of respect that you can give them. You know, they're one of the top programs in the state of Texas, regardless of classification, based off their success and their history. So I enjoy playing those guys because it's always a great contest. I feel like I've learned a lot as a coach playing these guys through the years, you know, and what they do. We're real similar in what we do, especially offensively, you know, and then just watching film on them and learning from those guys. And honestly, their staff, I get along with their staff great. I think they're great guys, and they've always been willing through the years, even when we play them, to, you know, be helpful, reach out to them. Hey, what do you think about this? How do you do this? How do you do that? Coach Cavalier is always, and his staff, just, you know, Coach Ketting, just always a great staff to talk to, and their willingness to help other coaches out.
So I agree. Great people over there. Now they're walking through what we walked through 4 or 5 years ago with the Coach Thomas, to you, a little more sudden than they had. Yeah. They've had a little time to plan it. But how have there been some conversations there, just what that looks like for Cavalier to step in, and obviously same systems, very similar to our transition, but yet obviously there's always going to just be a little bit of a different philosophy. Do we expect anything different from Canadian on Friday night?
Well, I'm sure there'll be some differences. You know, you watch them on film through their first 2 scrimmages and their first game against Seminole, Oklahoma, and you know, it looks to be pretty much the same Canadian as far as just schemes and kind of what they do and how they want to attack. You know, I'm sure as the season goes on, you know, kind of like it was with, you know, me and Coach Thomas, you know, you're going to do some things different and things you want to try maybe different. So, you know, I don't think they'll change a whole lot based off just their past successes. I think they'll, you know, to stick with what works for the most part. But I'm sure as Coach Cavalier goes on through the season, there might be some wrinkles that he wants to throw in.
Absolutely. Anybody that, I mean, obviously they're loaded with talent just like we are. They have a standout quarterback in Cavalier, Preston Miller, Flowers, all those guys. Is there anybody, when you begin to watch film, that you really think, man, we have to keep our eye on that guy?
Well, I think you named them. As far as our skill kids go, yeah, I mean, you know, Cavalier and Preston, you know, and then Flowers, you know, he's had some injury issues the last couple of years. You want to see him stay healthy this year. Seems to be a great kid, and you want him to have some success and stay injury-free this year. But those 3, I would say, you know, and they have some other guys too. A couple other receivers. Their running back is a good hard runner, and you definitely can't overlook him. You know, I think they're very good in the skill spots, and their linemen. You know, people talk about, well, they lost almost all those guys. They lost all those guys from last year. Their linemen are well coached every year, and you can tell. And they're well coached this year. They're maybe not as big as those guys were last year, but they're still a good group, and we're going to have to play well for sure.
They were a big offensive line for a small 3A school. Speaking of offensive line, we turned over 60% of our offensive line starter-wise from last year. What'd you see in some of the young guys that stepped in that you really liked? Because you had a couple juniors on that line Friday night.
Yeah, so some new faces. Rhett Real. Rhett's a senior, but he's seeing his first extensive playing time probably right now at center, and he did a good job. Kind of one of the things on the line you always ask on Friday night after the game or Saturday is, did so-and-so play? Did so-and-so get in the game, or how'd they play? And if you didn't notice them, that's probably a good thing. They probably played okay, just because they're not in the spotlight out there getting the ball and all that in space where everybody else is, so you can lose track of those guys. And generally, good rule of thumb is if you didn't notice them, they probably played all right. So, I thought Rhett did a good job. And then obviously, Jake White and Ty Askins both played at left guard. Both those guys did good. And then Holt Humphrey played a lot at left tackle. And we talked about Cannon Melvin a little bit. Charlie, Ty Morris is steady as always. So, I'm excited about that group. I think we have some depth there. I think we have quality. I think we have some guys that we can lean on when we need to. We kind of challenged them a little bit there that last drive when we got the ball back after the muff punt when they turned it over to us. We kind of challenged them and said, hey, what else can you ask for? Tie game, 3 minutes left in the game. You got to go stuff it down their throat and try to win the game, and we did. We scored, and then we got it back after the last fumble when they got the ball back. We still needed to run the clock out. We couldn't just kneel on it yet, so we did that, and got the run on third down at 25 yards. It's kind of sealed the deal with Easton.
Easton kind of had his eyes set on that end zone. You're thinking,
he did. I was thinking, get down. I was yelling, get down,
I can
get
imagine.
down in bounds, and he wanted to score, which I don't blame him. But he's got he was running hard, and at that point, once he got the first down, even if he went out of bounds, it really wasn't that big a deal. But we'll work on those things for sure.
He was not going to – there were two things that were not going to happen on that play. He was not going to fumble. He had both hands on the ball, and he was not going out of bounds. He was leaning in, which obviously being in that moment, that's what you want to see from your running back. And so
we told him in the huddle before that when that drive said, whatever you do, absolutely do not take two hands off the football. Squeeze it tight, and they don't get it from you. So he did a good job.
He is a load. I thought it was funny we're up high, so we see an angle, but you probably see it from the sideline. That safety, when he came around, he was like, oh,
yeah, he's a load for sure.
So we'll take a quick break out because I want to come back and talk about one thing that we announced last week with Coach Thomas, and then we'll let you get out of here and get to your family. So we'll be right back.
Procrete Construction is a regional concrete place and finish company designed from the ground up to give you solid professional service. Based in Amarillo, Procrete serves residential, commercial, and industrial construction industries. High standards of professionalism and quality are our benchmarks. We know your construction project requires a company that is equipped with the tools, knowledge, and experience to complete the work as promised with a focus on details. Call 806-318-3820 or go online to learn more about Procrete Construction at procretenow.com.
Adobe Wall Stoneworks, Justin Howe here. Listen, I can't believe it, but this year we're going to celebrate our 20th anniversary. The Texas Panhandle has been such a support for our little business, and we're so thankful. Amy and I have been dreaming about this design center for years. We want you to come check it out on Hillside. Go check out our website, adobewallstoneworks.com. Just like you go make a dinner reservation, you can click and make a reservation for a private design consultation in our indoor showroom right here on Hillside. Come check it out, Adobe Wall Stoneworks.
Melanie and Jeremy Scott with Texas Plains Real Estate Group at Keller Williams Realty support our Bushland Falcons on and off the field. As residents of the community, our school and students' success are important to us. A successful school drives home values and a strong sense of community, along with a desire to live in Bushland. To help further the community's support, we have created a Bushland-only e-directory, which can be found at bushlandhomesandliving.com. Please visit our site and add your business listing for free. New Vision Exterior Solutions is a proud sponsor of our Bushland Falcons. At New Vision Exterior Solutions, they take pride in and are committed to their work. With an increasing number of successful projects under their belt, they can proudly say they are one of the most trusted seamless gutter installation companies in Amarillo, performing both residential and light commercial work. New Vision Exterior Solutions can handle all of your gutter needs, including removal and installation, hail damage, wind damage, and leak cards. New Vision can also stain new and old fences and make those old fences look new. So give Brock Hall a call at 806-517-0533 and let New Vision Exterior Solutions provide a free estimate.
Whether you need a building to grow your business or you simply need more space for a backyard workshop, look no further than Tightwire Construction. Kurt and his team will get you the most out of your metal building and take pride in exceeding your needs with great customer service. To talk about your next project, give Kurt a call at 806-683-6842 or visit tightwireconstruction.com. And as always, go Falcons.
The Bushland Falcons are a symbol of excellence in all athletics. So when the Falcons take the field, there is no room for error. Vanessa McDonald with Lions Realty feels the same way about her job. As a real estate professional with over 20 years of experience, Vanessa knows there's no room for error when it comes to your real estate goals. Vanessa's real estate experience combined with a forward-thinking company behind her makes for a winning team for her clients. Give Vanessa a call for a free home analysis at 806-336-7885.
No one said living here was simple. They just said it was worth it. This land wasn't easy to settle. More than 30 years in business will teach you that. Her elements are fierce and forceful. Amarillo can take anything thrown her way. Your body shop should too. Loki's Body Shop, built for Amarillo.
All right, welcome back. If you're tuning in live and internet is like my arch nemesis, I was just telling the guys here, just know that this also records to the device and we will post it afterwards as well. But, you know, one of the things, we get to do some pretty cool things. Chris and I talk a lot about, we're blessed to get to be in some pretty neat situations and call big games. And, you know, I even look back at, he got to call Wall, he and Mark, and that was, you talk about an incredible, but obviously through the years, I mentioned him earlier, Coach Jimmy Thomas, you know, he spent many years here, and so doing some coaches shows, and you've coached with him, but being a Fritch guy, I've known him, golly, since I was a teenager. Yeah. And so he left a massive legacy behind. And I think one of the things that for me as a dad, and I always appreciated that it wasn't just football. And, you know, because sometimes you get in programs and it's just football. And not that that's bad, because this game can teach you a lot of life lessons, as we've talked about in previous shows. But can you talk for just a little bit about, because I had a lot of people say, it's amazing. I forget how many people are new to Bushland. Yeah. And so last week when we made the announcement of the Jimmy Thomas Memorial Scholarship, we had people like, who was Coach Thomas? Yeah. And I was like, I don't know how to tell a story. And then I thought, you know what? Who better than somebody that walked the sideline and saw him as a mentor? Can you talk just a little bit about Coach Thomas? Not just the coach, but also the man.
Yeah, well, obviously, you know, he was, you know, one of my best friends, worked with him for 6 years here. And he was great to me. I learned a lot from him, you know, about football, about coaching, about X's and O's, but more importantly about, you know, how to run a program and the relationships that you want to build, you know, with kids. And that's because ultimately that's what it's about. You know, I did another interview this morning, and that's one thing I talked about. I think the most rewarding thing, and I think Jimmy would always agree with this, one of the most rewarding things is after kids leave and they graduate and you see them, you know, here at a restaurant, or you see them somewhere else, or you get invited to their wedding, or, you know, you see them successful and they come back and you see them working or whatever it is. That's the most rewarding thing about our profession, not just coaching, but education in general, is seeing those things and developing those relationships and trying to prepare them, like you said, hopefully help prepare them for, you know, some life lessons that they can learn in high school and in football and athletics that prepares them for life. And I thought, you know, Jimmy was great. He was going to push just like we do. He was going to push kids and hold them accountable. And, you know, sometimes that's not always the nicest, the easiest thing to do. You know, you got to have some tough conversations. And, you know, we had some tough conversations, but it was always for the best for the students. So just, you know, still hurts me about what happened, you know, and he was such a good friend and mentor, but he would be very pleased with this, you know, scholarship. in his name, and I'm looking forward to being able to be on that committee and help choose that.
Well, Coach, I appreciate you taking the time. Obviously, we're excited about not to try to move on too fast from the announcement of the scholarship, but there'll be a lot more details coming in April, May. As Chris and I began to talk, it was just like, we don't even know what it needs to look like. I mean, we know what it needs to look like, but we need to put it on paper so we can really have parameters. But it's so much more than just football. When I called Kayla and said, hey, is it all right if we do this? She's like, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so we're excited that they're going to be part of it. Excited that Jared's coaching football this year. Got his, first, I guess, official Friday night as a
that's awesome
coach.
for him.
And so, but how cool is it just to see these kids' faces as they walk in? For those that don't know, you're seeing a lot of junior high volleyball players. They played Fritch here tonight. How fun is it just to see them come in after a win, big smile on their face?
Oh, you love it. You want your kids in your school to do a lot and compete in a lot, in athletics and academics and just extracurriculars. I think extracurriculars are important. I think they drive the school. I think involvement in representing your school and your community and those extracurricular activities is huge, and it's just fun going out here to the gym and seeing those volleyballers and those junior high kids and basketball and cross country and everything going on. And a little bit off the subject, when we had Meet the Falcons and we were out there all lined up across that field, just the high school kids' participation. The participation rate at our school is awesome. That's what you want to see. I mean, there was tons of kids
end
out
zone
there
to end zone
representing our school and our community, and that was just awesome to see.
It was, and it made for a very Meet the Falcons got a little long because there are so many that are involved.
It's a good problem to have.
And that was really just, I mean, they introduced the spring sports as a team, but really that was the majority of just the students in the fall. I mean, of what they have going on. And we could do an event that big in the spring as well. And so, Coach, thank you for the time. We look forward to Friday night. Obviously, the trip to Canadian is always fun. It was even more fun last time we went. The ride home was more fun than the trip there. But we'll go to a quick break. We'll come back with Falcon QB1 Dawson Jaco. We'll be right back.
No one said living here was simple. They just said it was worth it. This land wasn't easy to settle. More than 30 years in business will teach you that. Her elements are fierce and forceful. Amarillo can take anything thrown her way. Your body shop should too. Loki's Body Shop, built for Amarillo.
Adobe Wall Stoneworks, Justin Howe here. Listen, I can't believe it, but this year we're going to celebrate our 20th anniversary. The Texas Panhandle has been such a support for our little business, and we're so thankful. Amy and I have been dreaming about this design center for years. We want you to come check it out on Hillside. Go check out our website, adobewallstoneworks.com. Just like you go make a dinner reservation, you can click and make a reservation for a private design consultation in our indoor showroom right here on Hillside. Come check it out, Adobe Wall Stoneworks.
New Vision Exterior Solutions is a proud sponsor of our Bushland Falcons. At New Vision Exterior Solutions, they take pride in and are committed to their work. With an increasing number of successful projects under their belt, they can proudly say they are one of the most trusted seamless gutter installation companies in Amarillo, performing both residential and light commercial work. New Vision Exterior Solutions can handle all of your gutter needs, including removal and installation, hail damage, wind damage, and leak cards. New Vision can also stain new and old fences and make those old fences look new. So give Brock Hall a call at 806-517-0533 and let New Vision Exterior Solutions provide a free estimate.
Whether you need a building to grow your business or you simply need more space for a backyard workshop, look no further than Tightwire Construction. Kurt and his team will get you the most out of your metal building and take pride in exceeding your needs with great customer service. To talk about your next project, give Kurt a call at 806-683-6842 or visit tightwireconstruction.com. And as always, go Falcons. Welcome back from break. Sitting here now with quarterback Dawson Jaco. What a way to start the season, man.
Right.
So, was obviously we've heard numbers, 3,100 tickets, not in counting the band, the cheerleaders. What was that atmosphere like on Friday night?
It was crazy. As long as I've been coming to games out here, and I've been coming for as long as I can remember, I've never seen that many people in our stadium. And the fact that it was just people all around the track, it was crazy. It was just such a great atmosphere. It felt just like a playoff game.
Does it get hard as a quarterback to communicate when it gets so loud, or when you're on the field, does it really just quiet down out there for y'all?
Well, for me, I do my best. I block it out for the most part, but I mean, there are a few times where maybe someone doesn't see a signal or maybe not hear a protection call, but for the most part, we do fine handling it.
So, heading into the game, there was a lot of talk about West Plains, and they obviously last year was a big win, but they took some lessons that they learned in that game and really turned into a great season.
Yep.
So high expectations coming in. Was it everything you expected, or maybe a little more?
We knew they were going to be a really good football team. They, like you said, they turned their season around a little bit after our game week 1 last year, and we came in expecting a good football game against a really good football team, and that's exactly what it was. It was a dogfight the whole game, and that was a lot funner to me to go out there and play a full game, because throughout the season last year there weren't a whole bunch of times I got to play a full game, but yeah, it was a lot of fun, and they're a really good football team, and it was a heck of a football game to play in.
So, obviously coming back, returning starter, but seeing 60% of your line leave, what did it mean to you as a quarterback to see those young guys, especially having a couple juniors on your line, step up and really protect you well on Friday?
Well, I just knew that's all those guys. That's who they are as people. They're protectors, and they want to get in there in the muck, as you'd call it, and they want to, all they do is protect me and the running backs. They block for the running backs, and they just want to do their job to the best of their ability. And I knew Jake and Holt and Rhett were going to get in there and do their job, and of course Charlie, Ty, and Cannon, they'll always do their job just like they did last year. But yeah, they've stepped in really well, did a great job Friday night.
New receiving core for the most part, at least from a starting standpoint.
Right.
How big was it to come out first play of the season, go, 63 yards,
something like that,
Tanner make the stiff arm out there?
Yeah.
When you dial that up and you start that way, how big is that for confidence in those guys?
Well, it's a huge way to start the season, obviously. First play of offense, you go 63-yard touchdown pass, but they thought we were going to, throw a fast screen, because we did that quite a bit last year and set them up perfectly, and it just came open. But, it gave us a whole lot of momentum starting, and it's just a great way to start the season with the touchdown.
And then obviously back and forth, we're going to talk to the local legend player of the game, Jackson Fetch, in a little bit. You had a lot of help there in the backfield.
Right.
I don't want to say anybody surprised you, but how nice is it to know that you can literally look over and go 4 or 5 deep in a lot of these positions, and that they're still going to be there to make that play?
Yeah, it's a huge help when you can have that many guys come off the sideline and come into the spot, and you just know they're going to do their job every time their number's called. But yeah, it's a huge help, and everyone did a great job. Everyone that got in, even the sideline energy was amazing on Friday.
Yeah, it was. So now, obviously, West Plains is in the past. We turn our eyes to Canadian, a team that you're very familiar with. You and Cavalier, depending on who you read it, y'all are the 2 top quarterbacks in the Panhandle. Y'all been doing this a long time. You've gone through aired out camps and all those together. Is it a little more fun to get to play guys that you consider friends?
Yeah, I think so. We've been good friends for quite a while, and yeah, it's just I think it is a lot better when you know the guy you're going up against and you're good friends with him, and you can joke around a little bit, and it's just great competition to go against someone that you know.
Now, without giving away any any secrets, what do you hope to accomplish early in that Canadian game that will maybe trend for success for the full night?
I think we just come out and start kind of big, kind of like we did last Friday. We come out, start fast, and just play our brand of football, and get out there, snap the ball a bunch of times, and get the ball moving down the field.
DJ, thanks for taking the time, coming to hang out with us. But I got to ask you one question, because your Amarillo Globe News post-game interview is probably my favorite that you've ever done. At what point do you think that people stop underestimating us? And I get it. I mean, let's be honest. We did graduate 21 seniors.
Right.
But I think maybe they underestimate the talent, not only that you're surrounded with, but the depth of that talent.
Right.
Because we have a lot of young guys that stepped up and played some major minutes. Do you think that at some point, I don't want to say at some point, I'm not going to put you in that position to say it, but how nice was it to prove people wrong? We'll put it that way.
Well, when I talked to my dad early in the week last week, we talked about how, sometimes it's nice to be the underdog, and not everybody, expects you to do what you can do as a team. And, yeah, like you said, we have a ton of talent. We got one of the fastest kids in the entire state, and we got Jackson Fetch, who's about to be on here. But he's a tough runner. Every one of our running backs ran the ball extremely well. They're tough. And, yeah, we have so much talent, and just the ceiling for this team is so high.
How nice is it to have a guy like Easton Fuentes when you go quarterback power to clear the way in front of you?
He does a great job at that. That's probably one of his strongest suits at running back. He's a big boy, and he's a strong boy. He'll get in there and move people.
I thought we watched that when they bring him in, and you knew we know quarterback power's coming. Let's be honest. If they've watched the film, they knew it too. And just to watch him clear the way and then you to lead in.
Yeah.
But let's be honest, you like blocking too. That you got downfield on that reverse, and you put somebody on their tail as well.
Yeah, that's something we ran a couple of times last year, and we worked on it all week, and it's one of those plays just like the flea flicker that you work on it all week, and you never know if you're going to use it. But coaches prepared us, and we came out, used it, got scored, and yeah, I'd say getting out there blocking every now and then is pretty fun.
I don't know that your quarterback coach wants to see you doing it too often, but you're a heck of a blocker. So, any final thoughts on the Canadian game before we let you go?
No, I think it's gonna be a great game. They're a great team, and it's always a bunch of fun going down and play Canadian, especially in Canadian. It's a different atmosphere. It's just Canadians got that tradition that they've had for a long time, and they're a great football team, great program, and then Andy Cavalier is a great head coach, and I'm just excited for Friday.
It's going to be another good one. Number 1 ranked 3A Division II Canadian, number 7 ranked Bushland, according to Dave Campbell's. I think you're going to be an underdog for the second week in a row.
I hope so.
DJ, thanks for taking the time.
Thanks for having me.
We'll be back from commercial in just a moment. All right, we're back with our local legend, player of the week, Jackson Fetch. Fetch, what'd you think of that environment on Friday night?
Man, it was electric. There was a lot of people there. It was hard to give calls to the D-line. It was pretty loud. It was definitely one of my favorite atmospheres to be in.
The number was somewhere around 3,100 tickets sold. That doesn't count the band and the cheerleaders and all the people. Is that the biggest crowd you've ever played anything in front
of? Yeah, I think so. It was a big crowd. I looked up and took it in for a second, and there was people everywhere. There was people on the north end zone. I mean, they were kicking people out.
I
of
bet say
there.
at one point the officials were having to move people off the
Yeah,
field,
they
which
were
is
kicking
a
them
great
out.
problem to have. What does it mean for you when the community comes out like that? And I mean, because let's be honest, you're an emotional player. You feed off the energy. You're a high energy guy. How big is that for you, especially there on defense, early to be able to feed off that energy that they brought?
You know, it's great for them to come out here, take time out of their days on Fridays, and come watch the Falcons play some football. I mean, it means so much to the players, the coaches. You know, most of the parents go up there and they support their sons or their daughters or band. You know, it's great. I mean, hopefully we give them a show.
Speaking of family, how cool was it to look out there and be on the field with your little brother?
I mean, it was crazy. He's growing up. I mean, he's bigger than I am. I'll tell you what, he's taller than I am. He's bigger than I am. But I mean, he's still learning.
He is. But it's cool to see him up. You
Oh,
know,
yeah, for
obviously
sure.
having him grow up with our son Parker,
Yeah.
it's cool to see some of them getting their opportunity,
Yeah.
much like you did last year. And then not only getting an opportunity, but making the most of it. And so I can only imagine your mama sitting in the stands
Oh,
seeing
I
both
mean-
of y'all up there.
I mean, she told me the night before, she's like, this one's going to be rough. I'm going to see two of my boys. I was like, you know what? It's going to be okay because I got his back. He's got my back no matter what.
Absolutely. So new season, new position.
Yep.
How has that transition been for you to linebacker?
It's been great. And, you know, I got great coaches, you know, help me through it. You know, they're always picking us up. If we need questions, they're always there for us. At the end of the day, we're still going to play the game that we love to play. So, I mean, it's great. You know, obviously, a new defensive coordinator. He's done a really good job, you know, making sure that everybody's comfortable, you know, giving us those opportunities.
How different is that this year? Obviously, you played for Mayfield last year. Is it a different play calling? Obviously, it's a little different. Though it's the same base defense, a little philosophical. Does it take a little while to get used to it as a player, or did it just kind of seamlessly step right in and hit the ground running?
Oh yeah, there were some bumps, but there was also some, you know, really high points. You know, he does a great job with, you know, coaching us up and making sure that we're ready for those Friday night lights.
And so, obviously, we kick off high energy, West Plains sidelines rocking. You come out, get the big third down stop that forced the punt. How big was getting that first stop for y'all as a defense to make a statement for what you were looking to do for the night?
Well, you know, it helped our offense. We put the offense in a good position to go down there and score like we did on the first play. The D-line, they did their job up front. I mean, the boys are in the trenches 24/7. So, I mean, big ups to them. You know, they pushed him outside long enough for me to go out there and get him. But they definitely did their job up front, and I really appreciate them day in and day out.
Obviously, you and Tanner are great friends. Watching how excited you were when he stiff-armed that guy and went to the house was a lot of fun. How cool is that now it's y'all? I mean, obviously, y'all spent time in this program. Y'all were the young guys for a long time. How cool is that for y'all in this season for it to be y'all's turn?
Man, it's great. You know, it's a little. I mean, they're leaving all those boys up there. I've been playing with them since 7th, 8th grade. You know, they're all leaving this year, but I mean, we plan to make the most out of it.
So, second half, you get the call at running back. Did you know coming in that you were going to get reps there?
Yeah, he had told us that we're all rotating in. We got to keep fresh legs. We got to make sure that everybody's good. We need 110% out there. But yeah, I mean, kind of played out.
Third and short, what are you thinking when the play call comes in and you know that ball's coming your way on the wheel route? Or did you know it was coming your way?
I'm not even gonna lie, I didn't know the play before. And I think they knew that, but, you know, DJ, he does a great job at, you know, knowing everybody's, you know, routes. So I just asked DJ, and then, you know, the O-line up there. I mean, them giving DJ enough time to throw. I mean, they work all the time with SB. I mean, they put him to work. They make him work, and then he makes them work. So, I mean, yeah, no, it was great. I don't know what to say. To that.
That was, the dive into
word.
the end zone, the photo that JPEG Joe got was priceless. I used to think that your slide into home was my favorite photo I'd seen of you until Joe catches you diving in the end zone. And
Yeah.
so now let's turn our eyes to Canadian, another big game. You're going to go on the road. You weren't up yet last time we played in Canadian. What are you looking for? What have you heard? What are you looking for about? Because that's a tough road game. They have, just like we have a great home environment, they always have a home environment. Have some of the older guys talked to you about what it's going to be like when you get there?
Well, you know, I had went down as a tunnel crew freshman.
Oh, that's
my
right.
freshman
You
year
were there
when we played them, and I mean,
Cash Bradley loses his mind. We come
yeah,
from behind.
yeah. I mean, they're a great football team. They have good coaching. Coach Cavalier is the new head coach. I mean, he does a great job with those boys. And I mean, that atmosphere is also going to be pretty loud too.
Yeah,
So it's something we got to adapt to every week. I'm definitely looking forward to it.
Let me ask this: baseball and football, which is your favorite?
Man,
Because you love them both. I
Yeah,
mean,
I
let's be
do.
honest.
Yeah, I
you
do.
play them both the same way.
Yeah.
The same intensity you see him on a football field with, you see him attack balls with in center field. But
Yeah.
I won't ask you to pick a favorite, but let's be honest. You got two loves here, right?
yeah, I sure do. Probably baseball. I mean, I've been playing it my whole life. It's natural. I love it, and we have great coaching here too. Coach Espy, our new head coach. So I mean,
Baseball may look a little different with the
Oh, yeah.
offensive line coach now
Oh,
getting
yeah.
to call the shots.
we might be doing some pass hole or pass pro out in the outfield one day.
Well, Fetch, thank you for taking the
Yes, sir.
time. Congratulations on an awesome first game. We look forward to an amazing season. And we'll be right back here in just a second with Chris Welch, who just walked in the door as we give you some final thoughts. So, Chris, here we are, final segment. Obviously,
I slide in the last
you
of the
did.
home plate.
To get some final thoughts on what was an incredible football week. But before we turn our eyes to what's coming, man, you've called a lot of high energy, exciting games. You were there for the pass to Cash at Wall. Has there been an environment more electric than last Friday?
You know, that's definitely up there in the top, 1, 2, 3 games for sure. And I think just the amount of fans for both sides. I mean, they were lined on the fence on both sides. They had to push them out of the end zone, right? Because they were in the way at one point. And so just to see that excitement, and then it's just the back and forth. First quarter, all Falcons. Second quarter, here comes West Plains. Third quarter beginning, here comes West Plains again, but then Bushland battle right back. So I think you'd said it or somebody said it's like a heavyweight match, watching each other punch each other back and forth. And, what a great atmosphere it was. Definitely just lots of emotion going on in that game for the players, for the parents, for the fans. It was extremely exciting, and it definitely chalks up as one of the best games. And, just when you think, oh, we finally score, we get it, and all we have to do is kick the extra point. Now we got to add more drama to the whole thing, and now we're only 6 points down. We're giving them the ball with just under 2 minutes to go, and you're thinking, oh, my gosh, that window just opened up for us not to be able to win this game because you're thinking at that point, hey, they kick it, and then it's a 7-point deficit, so the worst that can happen probably is we tie potentially again. But when then that happens again, and so now, as announcers, we're up there going, oh, my gosh, the scenarios that are about to happen, and then the fumble, and then subsequent, now we get a third down and 11, they can still get the ball back again, right? And then here comes Fuentes with just a extremely big extra effort to get that first down. And there's nothing better than kneeling a ball to win a ball game.
No doubt. Victory formation is the best formation. I told Sid after the game, I'm like, dude, you cannot stress me out like that again. And it really wasn't his fault. I mean, obviously we asked for the timeout. They don't give it to us. We kick it. Obviously, Coach knew that we weren't in formation. He's 20 yards on the field trying to get a timeout, and they don't get it. They back him up, and so Sid actually hit the first one. But earlier, Coach Reynolds said 3,100 tickets sold for Friday night, and obviously that doesn't include the band, the cheerleaders, all the workers.
But I don't think our stadium seats, but like 20, 24?
Probably a good thing we don't have a fire
Right.
marshal.
Something like that, right? Exactly. right?
There were people. No, it was definitely standing room only. They were like 5 or 6 deep on the fence, and as you mentioned, on the field, having to get moved off. But now we turn our eyes. We move on a Monday from a great win this weekend, and turn our eyes to Canadian. You've been to Canadian multiple times. Last time you and I took that trip, what a memorable game. What do you expect from this week?
You know, what I expect is two quarterbacks leading their teams, right? You've got two of the best quarterbacks in the Panhandle, if not arguably the top two, if not two of the top three for sure in the Panhandle. But what I expect to see is, one I'll say Canadians had us circled for a while.
Oh, no doubt. Absolutely.
There's not a lot of teams in the last 30 years that can say they've beat Canadian 2 years in a row.
Okay.
That list is short. I can guarantee you that. They are a great football team. They are well coached. We are a great football team. They are well coached. It'll be an interesting thing, I think. I think it'll be a big environment again.
Absolutely.
Obviously, Canadian follows well, when they're in town. Bushland follows really well for games like this. So I expect it to be packed on both sides. I do expect a very electric environment again, but I expect two pretty good disciplined teams that whoever makes the least amount of mistakes wins this ball game.
I would agree with that.
These teams are very good about taking mistakes that other teams make and turning those into points. You saw it Friday night. If you watched the game at all with West Plains, we turned those into our advantage. We did the same thing to Canadian last year here at home.
Absolutely.
There's no doubt. We don't win that game without those turnovers because, again, they're a very good ball club. They're very disciplined. So, yeah, I think the team that plays the cleanest ball game wins that game. I don't think they're that far apart that one's just going to run away with it.
Absolutely.
Potentially. I think the mistake.
Canadian #1 in the state in Division II. You just mentioned they're well coached. We kind of alluded to this a little bit with Coach Reynolds, but they are going through a transitional season.
Sure they are.
Coach K has retired, Coach Ketting, but Coach Cavalier now steps in, much like Coach Reynolds. They're more than a couple. I think he's 8 or 9 in.
Maybe now,
I feel like I don't remember a Canadian team without Coach Cavalier, but there's still that transitional piece. And obviously, in line and in tune as they could be, we're going to probably see a little bit different Canadian team.
As Canadians going to see a little bit different Bushland team.
Absolutely.
Right?
We've never – last week was the first game that first time we've ever entered into a season, just for those that may be new to Bushland, without Coach Mayfield on the sidelines. Football in 2007, our first varsity year was 2008, and Coach Mayfield coached for every single season up until this year when he retired last year. And so it is a little different defense. Talk about that, because you've had boys play in this defense. What are some things that you saw that maybe, I don't want to say surprised you, but just they looked different to you?
Yeah, well, obviously, the speed coming off the line. For the last several years, we've been playing just sell it all out, right? And so that defense is predicated on I can get to the quarterback quicker than he can make a play, right? This defense is a little bit different. This defense is a little more, I'd say, I don't want to say traditional, because it's not traditional, but it is in some ways. It's more of a we can sit back, but we're going to send blitzes every now and then. We're going to send stunts. So you're not going to know necessarily when they're coming. Before, you knew we were coming every time. It's every time. And so, your edges were a big deal. And this defense is a little bit different. And so I think that'll keep teams guessing a little bit. But it's going to look different. We still sometimes do keep our corners on an island by themselves. And we saw it a couple of times where, and I think I even said it once, no safety.
Yeah.
But last week they did the same thing. We'd see a no safety situation. That's a great throwing situation if you can get the ball off. It's all about pressure at that point. But this defense they're loaded with talent. Our defense is, and it's always we laugh and or everybody loves to use the term next man up, but we're seeing it already.
Absolutely.
Early on. We didn't necessarily see this a couple years ago when we struggled. We didn't see that next man up for several weeks. It took a little while to get that, but now you saw it this week alone, just with Jackson Betts coming in and already playing lights out on defense, comes in and gives a completely different spark and a look on offense. But from a defensive perspective, I don't think it's as a fast play defense as what we've had in the past. But I do think it can be more of a protective defense, meaning the bend don't break situation. I don't think we'll give up the big plays like we typically have given in the past too. Because again, once you blocked us before, you had a great opportunity to make big plays. And a quarterback like Cavalier can burn you to death on big plays like that, just like DJ can burn players. If he gets a one-on-one with great blocking, he's going to hit somebody.
No doubt.
So that's where I see the biggest difference. So I don't think we give up the plays. I think we give up more yards probably in this defense maybe, but I think we become more of a protective defense than maybe what we've been in the past.
I think one of the things that was really impressive was how often we could get off the field with bringing that isolated pressure. You'd see there was a big third down. West Plains is driving and Boaz shoots through, and they're probably in 4-down territory until Boaz gets the sack. And another time with Colton Reynolds shooting through. And so I think you're right. And this, man, you talk about how the depth, the talent, and just the speed. We may not throw it all at you every play, but when it comes fast.
Yeah.
And so we saw big time pressure. Coach Reynolds earlier talked about just, how many plays were in the first quarter. You began to see our depth early because you had to, because so many of our guys go both ways. You look up and Tanner Adams and Cade Gavin, they need breaks out there on the corner, and to see guys like Aiden Hall and some of those come in and play, not only do their job but do it well, it makes you excited knowing, man, it doesn't have to just be next man up. It is just the depth that we can just come in waves, which is unique in our classification because, let's be honest, most schools that are truly 3A, they don't have that depth. And so, and we'll talk more about and I say truly 3A because there are some schools playing 3A that will not be 3A anymore after this year because it is a realignment year. And we'll talk more about that as we get closer. But as we get ready to wrap up, any final thoughts before we head into Canadian?
Yeah, I've had this game circled, knowing what we had, knowing what they have, knowing they're going to come in number one. We knew they were, so when the rankings came out, no surprise to anybody. But I've had this game circled because, I've watched us play Canadian year after year after year since we've been here. The reason I got off the clock and started broadcasting is because I was having to do the clock with Canadian and Bushland. And let me tell you, there's nothing worse than running a clock with those two because they're both hurry up and probably the fastest two teams in the state of Texas in that offense when they get moving. But I've been circled because, boy, this game could set a good tone for either team. But I think it has a bigger upside for us. I really do. I think that because I think the confidence will just continue to build and build and build. I think if we were to lose the game, it's probably not as big of a downside.
Yeah.
A Canadian, they're playing for the state title. That's their regular season is their preseason. That's how they attach it. We're starting to be that program. And I think if you look up in the Texas Panhandle, when they start talking about teams that are becoming that regular team that you're going to see in the playoffs every year, they're always going to be up there. Bushland's starting to make that name. And I really believe that. Canadians always had that.
They have. They're known as the Kings of the North for a reason.
They are.
They've earned that name.
They are. And so when the state of Texas talks about the Panhandle, it's typically going to be Canadian that they typically refer to. Bushland's creeping into that, testament to shows like Sideline to Sideline starting to reach out and start to have conversations. Hey, get us involved. Tell us about 2A, 3A, 4A, and the Panhandle. That's a big deal. Bushland's starting to get out there. Coach Reynolds being named one of the top 10 coaches to watch in the state of Texas. That's because Bushland's consistently turning out a program. We got some humps we need to get over, right? We need to get over that quarterfinals and get into that next level again. But I'm excited for the game just because I think it has a lot of implications on how we keep rolling through the season as well.
One thing that's going to be exciting for us in Canadian is we are going to make the change. We're going to actually stay on the visitor side, and so we will broadcast outdoors so that we can be on our home side. Canadian's one of those unique places that home just faces the sun, and it's never fun to not be on your home side. I'm not.
But I like to see the game too.
And so I like being with our fans. It just, I think back to even Childress when we played, not Childress, we played in Iowa Park last year against Brock. I just don't like being on the opposite side. There's something to be said about it. And obviously, one of the things that Chris brings to the table is he is a technology whiz, and he has spent today cleaning up our broadcast and new systems on the way. And so just know that just as everyone else was working, we say week one's working out everything. Well, the players kind of got some scrimmages. We don't broadcast scrimmages, so week one was kind of our scrimmage to figure out what we needed. And so we'll be excited to clean some of that up. And we thank you for tuning into our first Coaches Show of the year. We know it looks a little different. Grateful for Mitch's barbecue here in Bushland hosting us and coming alongside us this year. You'll see more next week. Obviously, we're excited to have DJ and Fetch come on. We're going to continue to expand this show to be able to cover more sports. And so we just got it put together so late it was hard to get volleyball and maybe even some cross country in here because we got a returning state what do you call the state track? It's not the state track, it's the state cross country meet returning here with Zach Nichols. So we'll be for sure to talk to him this year. But exciting things happening for us at Bushland FM, and just excited to cover some great student athletes.
Yeah, absolutely. It's fun to do something different. I've got a commitment, so I'll be sliding in every week in the last 20 to 25 minutes probably. But really appreciate Stephen kind of coming up with this and saying, hey, let's just do something different and